Welcome to Hollywood Bulletin, where we bring you the untold truths and deepest scars behind television's most iconic legends. And today, we're diving into one of the most heartbreaking and personal divides in Hollywood history, a story that played out not in front of the cameras, but in the quiet moments behind them. This is the emotional and revealing journey of Carroll O'Connor, the unforgettable Archie Bunker from All in the Family, and the co-star he never forgave. What began as a groundbreaking and hilarious television partnership would eventually unravel into decades of cold silence, unspoken words, and a rift that never healed. Carroll O'Connor wasn't just the face of Archie Bunker, he was a force of nature on set, a meticulous actor who believed in truth, timing, and purpose in every line he delivered. Opposite him stood a sharp-witted younger co-star who perfectly complemented Archie's old-school stubbornness with fresh energy and a modern voice. Their chemistry was undeniable, and All in the Family quickly became a television sensation. But as the series soared behind the scenes, subtle tensions began to grow. Creative disagreements turned into personal frustrations, and although they remained professional for years, those differences quietly hardened into resentment. Carroll's co-star had his own ideas about where the show should go, often clashing with Carroll's carefully honed vision. Sometimes it was just a line, a scene, or a tone that felt too preachy, too reactive. Not true to the characters Carroll had helped create. While Carroll studied scripts with precision, his co-star was more relaxed, more improvisational, and often willing to speak his mind, even in front of the crew. These differences began to weigh heavily on Carroll, whose devotion to the craft went far beyond performance. He cared deeply about what the show meant, what Archie stood for, and how every moment was delivered. Then came a public interview, and in just a few sentences, the divide became impossible to ignore. Carroll's co-star described Archie Bunker not as a complicated reflection of society, but as a dangerous, outdated relic. Those close to Carroll say he was crushed. To him, Archie wasn't a hero or a villain. He was a mirror, a character built to spark conversation, not condemnation. And hearing those words, especially from someone who'd built his own career standing next to Archie, felt like betrayal. After that, Carroll never said his co-star's name again. Not in interviews, not at award shows, not even when asked directly. He praised others from the cast, warmly remembered Gene Stapleton and Norman Lear, but never acknowledged the man who had once stood beside him in nearly every episode. And when Carroll passed away in 2001, fans noticed something else. There was no tribute, no public statement, not even a mention from his former co-star. And at the funeral, the empty seat spoke louder than any eulogy ever could. Documentaries and retrospectives celebrated Carroll's legacy, yet his former colleague remained silent, never offering the words fans had hoped for. And in the rare interviews where the show was mentioned, Carroll's name was quietly left out. The divide wasn't explosive, but it was absolute. A silence so steady and deliberate, it became part of the story itself. Carroll carried that silence with grace, never attacking, never defending, simply allowing the absence of acknowledgement to speak volumes. Friends say he felt erased, used, and ultimately left behind by someone he once considered a partner in one of television's greatest stories. And while he never shared the full depth of his hurt, the pain was clear in his careful words and long pauses. Even in his final years, through illness and personal grief, Carroll O'Connor remained a man of dignity, deeply respected by those who knew him. His performance as Archie Bunker changed American television, and his commitment to truth and storytelling made him unforgettable. But the wound left by his co-star's silence, by the revision of their shared history, was one he carried until the end. The tragedy here isn't just in what was lost, but in what was never said, the apology that never came, the conversation that never happened, and the respect that was never restored. It's a reminder that some of Hollywood's deepest stories aren't written in scripts or played out in front of cameras, but whispered in the spaces between lines, in the friendships that fade without warning, and the grudges that remain unspoken. This is the story of the one person Carroll O'Connor never forgave, and the silence that told us everything. If you were moved by this powerful look into the untold story behind All in the Family, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Hollywood Bulletin, leave a comment with your thoughts, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the true stories behind your favorite stars.